Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jyotirya nishtaprayashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata seva bhagavatiyotamashuki bhaktir bhavati naistiki Nigamam kapaduragaditam param shukam makaramita jovi samitam pibata bhagatam rashamarya mahora horisiko vaham Krishna swadam apagate dhamagini karonashta dvishamasho parana kodunoditaham Twamapi adavishuddha vishuddham vibhusam yapilina vidambadikasana prakahidoharmaram sankleshanavanamu santi nanyataham Yakvasararam chararam bhujam hare bhajana pakpatapadet yatyakavaparara kavartatam bhajatam shadamadam anatum pashvam shakshad bhaktiyo lokasadhara chakra satvara samhitam atmaramasya muniyana grantiya korvanti aitikam itamudagana hari Om Ganati Marandasya Gana Sadaka Chaksurun Miritam Yana Tashmahi Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sta Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishikan Vitam Stam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tiramani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadine Nivishesa Sunivari Praskita Desatari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, Ram Kishore. Looks like it's just you and me for now on Transcendental Tuesday. Everybody must have had a rough Memorial Day weekend. Maybe camping, traveling, being exposed to the elements. Let's see what... Hey, Rob, good morning. You there? Connecting to audio right now. Are you on the job now, Rob? Enjoying the rays of the early morning sun? He's not answering. Good morning, Natasha.
Yes.
Yes, Rob? What are you doing now?
Enjoying the rays of the early morning sun.
There
ready
you
for it to
go.
warm up a little bit, but not necessarily ready for it to get hot.
Prabhupada said the rays of the morning sun are more beneficial than afternoon. If you sit for 15 minutes with the morning sun on the back of your neck or work in the fields, that will give you the optimal health. That will give you the optimal benefits. Sitting in the afternoon sun is not as beneficial as catching those rays in the early morning sunshine. So good on you. I'm hoping to get outside as soon as possible as well. I realized that I hadn't answered the comments from yesterday. Yesterday was a pretty intense day. Good morning, Sundari Priya. Good morning, Govinda Dev. Welcome to Transcendental Tuesday. I hadn't answered the comments from yesterday. It was a busy day. Vi took all the volunteers up to Salt Lake City to do some landscaping. And it was still a holiday weekend. So I went into the kitchen, cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked. Advaita was manning the front desk, greeting visitors. A lot of people came. So I was kind of strapped throughout the whole day. And it was just this morning I realized I hadn't gotten back to any of you. So I apologize for that. Also, we've got this festival coming up June the 12th in Salt Lake City. It's the first live festival we've had in 2 years. So 2 years ago, I was definitely in the groove of performing live festivals. Everything happened automatically. Done it over and over and over and over again for years. But now I have to admit I'm kind of rusty. I'm just starting to remember, oh man, did we order the toilets? Have I contacted the yoga teachers? Have I given the vendors their load-in instructions? Do we have the volunteer sign-up sheet up online? And the answer to most of these questions is no. Also, we're preaching a lot more, which is a good thing. Pre-COVID, most of the preaching I did was physical, in person, and that certainly limits everything. But the last year or so during COVID, we've been going online 7 times a week with classes. and it's been very gratifying, very fulfilling for me. But it has taken my mind a little bit away from the minutia of putting on festivals. So I woke up several times last night, like shocked to realize that something that should have been done by now wasn't done. So, well, good news is the festival's on our home turf. So it's a lot easier and simpler to do a festival in your own temple property than it is to do a festival off-site. That requires a whole nother set of mandates. So I think it'll be just fine. You all put it on your calendar if you're from Utah, June 12th, first live event in ages. And we'll shake some of the dust off out of our heads and recall all the things that we did to make these festivals transcendental. And speaking of transcendental, we're revisiting this famous verse in the 15th verse, 5th chapter, the Srimad Bhagavatam. This will be our second day. Jagupsiddham dharma kritana shasita savavaraktasya mahan virakama yadbhakito dharma titaras manyate tasya nivaranim janahan. Has a nice rhythm to it, doesn't it? Narada Muni. The people in general are inclined to enjoy. That's why we're here in this material world. Purusha prakriti stohi bhakti prang. By the way, thank you very much. Prashant jumped on our call yesterday and gave us all the references. Every single verse that I quoted, he gave the link to it yesterday. We're very appreciative to him for doing that. The people are naturally inclined to enjoy. That's what brought us to this material world. It's not that enjoying, there's anything bad about enjoying. We're not naysayers. It's a question of how to enjoy. It's a given that we all want water. We all need water to sustain ourselves. Krishna says, I'm the taste of water. So it's not a debatable point whether to drink water or not. We don't want to renounce water. We do that, that becomes fatal. The real question is, where do you go to get your water? Do you agree with me that you won't go to the desert to get water? You go to where there's greenery and rainfall, lakes and rivers. You don't go to the desert to get your water. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying. It's inbuilt. Krishna enjoys. He's playing a flute, got a big smile on his face. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. He's the reservoir of all pleasure. So it's nothing wrong with enjoying. Don't get the wrong impression from our Sanatana Dharma philosophy. The issue really is, where do you get your enjoyment? Where is enjoyment available? It's not available through the independent exploitation of our senses. I've said this over and over again. I hope we can get this down in our spirit. Enjoyment is there, but we enjoy through Krishna. Water the tree through the root. You nourish the body through the stomach. It's the only way to do it. You can't make up another method of watering the tree or feeding the body. There's just no alternative. As liberal as you are, as much as you'd like to think that you can nourish the tree by watering the twigs, flowers, branches, it's just not going to work. Sorry to tell you that. Sorry to break you the news. Liberalism will only take you so far. You might think from a liberal point of view, well, why should I put food in the mouth? The nose are also holes, the eyes are holes, the ears are holes. Why only the mouth? Why do you have to be fanatic? Just say the mouth. Well, you try it. I invite you to try it. Putting food through the eyes or the nose hole or the ear hole. There's just really only one way to do it. Some things are like that, You can't do everything every way that you imagine. So in the same way, enjoyment is there, but there is a place to enjoy. And that is through God, through the source. We're the parts, we're not the whole. Our problem is we want to enjoy. Our problem is not that we want to enjoy, but it's that we want to enjoy independently. Therefore I said, Purusha Prakriti, we're Prakriti. Prakriti means the enjoyed, the controlled. Anyone who thinks I'm the supreme enjoyer, I'm the supreme controller, is in a kind of state of madness. We're obviously not in control. We can't control anything. We can't control our own bowel movements. We can't control when and how we have a toothache. We can't control our minds. What to speak of the big elements of nature like the wind or the waves. We talk about controlling nature, and yet nature slams us over and over and over and over again in so many different ways, in such a powerful fashion that we have to admit our own lack of control. Prakriti means we're not the controllers, we're not the enjoyers. We didn't create this world, so we don't have the right to enjoy something we didn't create. It doesn't belong to us. The mentality of enjoying this material world is like the mentality of a man who walks past a car parked on the street, jumps in it. He thinks, well, the car is just here. I don't see any owner, so it must be mine to take. He jumps in it, hot wires, and drives it away. That's a criminal mentality. And such a person can never be happy. Police are looking for him. So this world did not just happen. Satyam pratistam tejagavaraho parashvara kimanyat kamaita. It did not just happen randomly or accidentally from a big bang or as a result of mixing of elements of primordial soup. All that is the thieves' mentality. It's just rationalization on the part of thieves. Even if they have a degree from MIT University, they have a MA, PhD, MAD, it's still the thieves' mentality to think that everything just appeared and everything's here for our willy-nilly enjoyment. Whoever creates something has the first right of enjoyment. So God created this world. He created our bodies. He wants us to enjoy. God doesn't want us to go around without any pleasure. He wants us to enjoy unlimitedly. In fact, the servants of the Lord enjoy more than the Lord himself. He declares himself bankrupt, the God, the Lord of millions and millions of universes, declares himself bankrupt in the face of the service of the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Vrindavan. No parayam nirvadya samati shabadu vibadhayo shapira yo mabajan durjaya shrinkaraha samrita tava pratihatasaram. In the face of your selfless service, he says to the cowherd maidens of Vrindavan, I am, even in the lifetime of Lord Brahma, 3,400,000 years times 1,000, given all that time and all of my resources, I still would not be able to repay you for your service. The servant of the Lord enjoys even more than the Lord. That's why the Lord descended 500 years ago as the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his original form, Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago and spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his friend and disciple Arjuna. Then Krishna wanted to understand the pleasure that one feels by serving himself. So he couldn't understand that pleasure by being himself. So he incarnated as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya had a golden complexion. The best servant of Krishna is Radharani, and she's gold. So when Krishna appears as a servant to enjoy the pleasure of serving, he assumes the gold color of his best servant, Srimati Radharani. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the last years of Lord Chaitanya's life, he felt so much ecstasy. He exhibited extraordinary bodily, physical symptoms. Sometimes his body would compact like a turtle, and sometimes it would elongate because of the force and the power of the ecstasy he was feeling as a servant of Krishna. Krishna wants us to enjoy. That's why he wants to wean us from our attachment to dull, dead matter. He wants to rehabilitate our fallen mentality, to correct our misimpression that we're the masters, we're the enjoyers, and we're the controls. He wants to realign us properly so that we can begin to really enjoy in the right way through the root of all creation, the Supreme Personality of God. When Vyasadeva compiled the Vedas, the purpose of the Vedas is just like the purpose of the physician giving the patient medicines, is to restore the patient to a normal, healthy condition. Now, if the patient's willing and cooperative and submissive, isn't it? The prescription for curing oneself of material misconception and illusion is to approach a realized soul who has seen the truth, inquire from them submissively, and render service to them. If you do that with a pure, honest heart and childlike faith, then the spiritual master will put you on the fast track back to home, back to Godhead. Within a very short time, and definitely within this lifetime, you can become purified of all unwanted anarthas and ascend back home, back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if you're reluctant, if you're dragging your feet, if you're not sure, if you're polluted and you have other desires and attachments, and let me take care of my family first, and then this and that and the other thing, then there have to be fallback programs. The ideal program is not for such a type of a person. There has to be a different path to health, a slower path to health, a path to health which involves reverses, relapses, the ongoing presence of misery and confusion. The physician, if he realizes that the patient is not serious and is not going to take the best, most effective and complete and fastest medicine, he still has an obligation to try to bring his patient back to health. But because of the patient's dullness, it's not going to be as quick or as painless. So the physician will chalk out alternative plans. The best plan is strictly from A to B, with no hesitation, no detours, no distractions. But people are not willing to do that. They want to go here, they want to meander here and there, and take their time here and there. Then the physician will still give them a plan for recovery, but it won't be the physician's best plan. It won't be his preferred plan. But he doesn't want to just cut the patients off. He doesn't want to leave them hanging. So he maintains his connection with them. So when we left the spiritual world, Krishna came with us. He accompanied us as a super soul within the heart. We're going to experience the hard knocks. We're going to graduate from the University of Miseries. And at such time, we become sick and tired of rotating the cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age over and over from higher planets to the lower planets, just like being on a Ferris wheel. Sometimes up as a demigod, sometimes down as a subhuman, a plant, reptile, and aquatic. Sometimes on the higher planet, sometimes on the lower planets. Just like a Ferris wheel. It goes up and then down, up and down, up and down, with no real resolution of our problem of birth, death, disease, and old age. So the Lord accompanies us, even when we're as a dog or a cat. The Lord's right there in our heart, waiting for us to turn to Him so He can begin to nurse us back to health. Unfortunately, we think that the perfection of life in this material world is to improve our material situation. We look at others who are enjoying more than we, or we hear about the delights of the heavenly planet, and we think all our problems will be solved if we say, go to the planet of Brahma, go to the planet of Indra, go to the planet of Kuvera, go to the planet of Chandra. And so we become enamored by the flowery words of the Vedas describing a higher standard of living and a longer lifespan, which is enjoyed in the heavenly planets. Evam bhukva shragaloka vishanti tsinya purna markaloka visham evam tvayi ganam nanu prapamanasham gata gatums kama kabalante. Being enamored with the flowery words of the Vedas, one performs pious activities, penances, and austerities, accumulates a bank balance of pious activities in this life, so that then one can elevate to the heavenly planets in the next life. But elevating the heavenly planets does not solve the problems of janma mrityu vyadhyadi. Does not solve the problems of birth, death, disease, and old age. All you do by going from the earthly planet to the heavenly planet in your next life, it's like transferring from a B cell in the prison house to an A cell. Or from the lower planets, gradually working your way up to planets. It's like going from a C cell to an A cell. Maybe have more relative amenities in the A section of the prison house. Maybe you have curtains in your windows, color TV. Whereas in the B cell, you're just eating bread and water in solitary confinement. But moving yourself from a C cell to an A cell does not solve your problem. You're still faced with birth, death, disease, and old age. I remember in Los Angeles, I think Chaitanya Dasi and her sidekick Yashoda Mai did a skit one Sunday during the feast where one of them played the role of a prisoner in the Class C cells. And they wanted their whole meditation, her whole meditation was, how do I get to the Class A cells? It wasn't, how do I get out of prison? How do I enjoy unrestricted life as a free citizen? But it was just, how do I get to the Class A, get better food, maybe better TV privileges? And so in the skit, took a bar of soap and carved it into a facsimile of a gun. And so when the guard came to give her meals, bread and water, stuck this gun in the guard's face and forced the guard to unlock the cell door. Now, at this point, the prisoner could have forced the guard to walk her out of the prison house altogether, but she had no vision for that. For her, prison house was the only reality, the only thing she knew. And the highest goal of which she could envision was just improving the situation in the prison house. So instead of using the gun and the ruse, which she'd played on the guard, to get out of the prison house altogether, told the guard, walk me to where the A-class cells are. They walked to where the A-class, they found a vacant cell. At gunpoint, forced the guard to open the door of the A-class cell, went into the A-class cell, allowed the guard to close the door, and then once again lock it. Would you agree the prisoner kind of missed a golden opportunity there? Similarly, we have the chance. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavana Jiva Krishna Guru Prashade Pai Bhakti Lotavi. If you sincerely want it, Krishna's within your heart. He never left you. He has always been your guide, your support, your friend. He always has your back. He's poised, waiting to free you from this material contamination. But instead we ask Krishna to improve our situation in the material world. We're condemned. And instead of throwing off the condemnation, instead of rectifying ourselves, instead of trying for free, unconditional life of the unfettered spirit soul, we just ask Krishna or use Krishna or manipulate Krishna to try and improve our situation in this material world. In the 20th verse, 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains our incarceration, our condemnation. Gunamatam atityatin, dehi deha shamudvan janma mitu jara dukir vimuktam ritamashate. We are bound hand and foot in this material world by what are called the three gunas. Gunas means ropes. Three gunas, three modes of material nature. Three ways in which we're bound. We're bound in goodness, we're bound in passion, we're bound in ignorance. If you're in goodness and you're living on the level of demigods, it's like you have golden ropes. And if you're in ignorance and you're living in the subhuman species or in the lower planets, it's like you have burlap ropes. But it doesn't really matter. You don't want to switch the burlap ropes for the gold ropes. What you want to do is get the ropes off of you all together. Urdvam gachanti satvasha majay dashante jigani gunabra adho patanti tamasha. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you do pious and charitable works, you can go from class B or class C to class A. If you're on the human level, kind of a fruitive worker, you can take birth in the middle, in class B area, which is this earth planet. If you're attached to sinful activities, activities which are prohibited and against the law of God and the harmonious running of the universe, then you're pushed down to the subhuman species or the animal species of life. And one way or another, it's due to your association with these modes of material nature that you're trapped in this material world. We contact those modes of material nature as soon as we start to think of ourselves as the enjoyers. Bhukte prakriti shtohi karanam guna sangashat karanam. The cause of our association with the material world and consequent birth in the material nature amongst the 8 million species of life, sadasat yonishu nishu, is the appearance of our false ego, is the misconception that we're the enjoyers and this world just happened to be here for our exploitation and our pleasure. Ishtan Bogan Hibo Dasyanti Yo Bhakti. Krishna says this is the mentality of the thief. Thief can never be happy enjoying stolen property. It's only a matter of time before the police come, break down his door, beat him over the head, and drag him off to prison. He's already in prison, at least in his mind. So the trick is to overthrow the influence of these three modes of material nature. How do you do it? They're very strong. And we've voluntarily submitted to them. We're habituated since time immemorial. We came into this material creation. We fell as a spirit soul into the material energy. Who knows how long ago? Our entrance into this material world cannot be unearthed. We cannot research. It was so long ago. Prabhupada says since time immemorial. Perhaps even from a previous creation. So we're patterned. We have habits. How do you get out of that pattern of behavior which has been going on for so long on so many planets and so many species of life? But unless and until we throw off the tyranny, the bondage of the modes of material nature, we cannot enjoy pleasure for which we're always hankering. Translation of this verse, Gunamattamati Chatin Dehe Dehe Janma Mitu Jaradirke Vimuktam Ritu Nashate. Krishna says to Arjuna, when the embodied soul is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and enjoy nectar in this life. We see amongst the species the influence of the modes of material nature. Prabhupada explains the swan is in the mode of goodness, and the crow is in the mode of ignorance. The cow is in the mode of goodness, and the dog is in the mode of ignorance. Sorry about that, America. Didn't mean to offend your best friend, but that's what Krishna concludes for us. The Brahmin is in the mode of goodness. The worker tends to be in the modes of passion and ignorance. The demigods are in the mode of ignorance. The inhabitants of the lower planets are in the mode of demigods are in the mode of goodness. The inhabitants of the lower planets are in the mode of... We see in each and every body there is the presence of these three modes of material nature. In some bodies, ignorance is prominent. In some bodies, passion is prominent. There's also goodness and ignorance mixed in. But there's so many different mixtures and proportions and fractions that can occur that from those three modes of material nature only are generated 8,400,000 species of life. But the bottom line is, as soon as we thought of ourselves the enjoyer, and we forgot that Krishna is the enjoyer, then we became associated with those three modes of material nature. We fell from the spiritual world and meet with good and evil amongst the various species of life. Krishna Baliya se jiva bahira dir atayava maya tarada samsara. The beginning of our problems, beginning of birth, beginning of death, beginning of disease, beginning of old age started when we forgot Krishna, which it means to say we forgot that he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the owner of all property, and we forgot he's our best friend. Someone asked Prabhupada in Australia during a TV interview. This was in the 70s, and the interviewer prefaced her question by saying, everybody's taking to the streets to protest the war in Vietnam, taking to the streets to protest civil rights. And the Hare Krishnas are also in the streets. So what is it that the Hare Krishnas are protesting? Prabhupada right away said, we are protesting death. That's what human beings do. When you have the human body, the rare and unique opportunity of the human body, and the power of inquisitiveness, atata brahmadina, you ask the question, why do I have to die? And if you don't ask that question, you're not human. Transcendental Tuesday, if you happen upon this broadcast, you're just scrolling through and you see this Hare Krishna guy who seems to be animated with this architecture in the back of them, and it stops you for a minute, and you check it out for a few seconds. All of a sudden, there's this guy telling you that you're not human. Well, it's not me. It's actually scriptural. Because the human form of life is for the specific purpose of solving the problems of birth, death, disease, and old age. You should not go gently into that sweet night. You should not leave the human body without having transcended the modes of material nature and begun to taste the nectar of immortality, even in this current body. If you fail to do that, you fail to meet the responsibility and to take advantage of the opportunity of the human form of life. It's like if someone were to offer you $1 million, you invest $100, guaranteed within a very short time that $100 will turn into $1 million. Say, nah, I don't think so. I'm okay. I'm okay eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I've got enough money for the next 3 days. I'll worry about survival 3 days from now when I run out of my $100. But I need my $100 right now for my peanut butter jelly sandwiches and my Monster energy drinks. Hello? You invest your $100, you have $1 million, you won't have to worry. You won't have to worry about, you can eat healthy food. You can shop at Whole Foods where the prices are higher for the rest of your life. No, I think I'll just keep my $100, play it safe. Isn't that the story in the Bible? The talents, isn't it? We're meant to take what we have, invest it in such a way as to get the highest return in our investment. So why would you invest this unique and valuable form of life in improving your material situation, going to the heavenly planets? Even on the heavenly planets, there's birth, death, disease, and old age. As I said, evam bhutva shragalaka bishantam sinya punya. By accumulation of pious activities, you can elevate yourself to the heavenly planets. But the problem is, every day you spend there, you're expanding that which you had previously accumulated. And you cannot further accumulate pious credits on the heavenly planets. You only spend them. If you go to Hawaii for vacation, you don't have any earning capacity. You don't have the position to earn money when you're in Hawaii. You're only spending the money that you earned in the factory in Orem. And when your money's gone in Hawaii, you have to come back to the factory in Orem. Similarly, you can go high, but what is the ultimate benefit? You go up as if on a Ferris wheel. When your pious credits are expended, there's no more fuel in your tanks. You then again come back down, and you're right back where you started. So it's not the best investiture of your time and energy to try for elevation to the heavenly planets. Krishna strongly recommends against it. In fact, he says it's like poison. It talks about the lifestyle, the standard of living, the gals who exist, the landscape, the gardens, pleasures which are there in the heavenly planets. But the fact is that Krishna is the supreme reservoir of pleasure. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. If we just try to please Krishna, as the servants of Krishna, we enjoy millions of times more the service to Krishna than Krishna himself does. So if Krishna is the supreme Lord, the supreme satisfied, the supreme self-sufficient, and he wants to experience the higher pleasure of serving himself, and in the pursuit of that descends as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and exhibits all kinds of amazing symptoms of ecstasy, why wouldn't we want to take a page out of his book and begin the process of serving Krishna? Because we ain't going anywhere with what we've been doing the last who knows how many tens of thousands of lifetimes. We have got no taste, no juice in our mouths. We've only got dry dust, you see. It is said that one who is promoted to the higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life, better facilities for sense enjoyment, And yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of his pious activities. Maharaji is a good example. He lived on the heavenly planet. When he was a king, he did so many good things, so many sacrifices, gave so much in charity, that he went to the heavenly planets, and he was there for, it seemed as if he'd been there forever, hundreds of thousands of years. He forgot that he had any other existence other than being in the heavenly planets. He became so confident and so comfortable and so secure and ultimately so arrogant in the heavenly planets that at one point he drafted some sages to carry his palanquin. And when he wasn't happy with the ride they were giving him, it wasn't smooth enough for his pace, he kicked one of the sages, and then the sage could understand. His pious credits have exhausted. By the symptoms of his arrogant, inconsiderate behavior, it's quite evident that he is now a loose cannon on the deck of the heavenly planets. And that sage cursed him to fall back down to earth. I don't know how it works. Maybe a trapdoor opened up under his feet. In one purport in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that when we fall from the position of a demigod back to humanity, the soul comes in raindrops. From the heavenly planets, the soul comes within a raindrop. The raindrop hits the earth, then the soul transfers itself into a seed. The seed becomes grains. The grains are eaten. A man has intercourse with a woman. The soul is transferred from the body of the man into the womb of the woman. And then he, again, throughout the 9 months of gestation, reappears on this middle level, again to experience birth, death, disease, and old age in a very shortened lifespan. In Kali Yuga, it's 100 years at most. And the standard of living is much reduced from what he had enjoyed in the heavenly planet. So if you're going to go to all that trouble, Prabhupada says, why don't you do it to get your eternal spiritual body? Mama Peja Punardama, Dukali Mashash, Napnu Vantimara, Samsidim Paramangari. Mama Peja Punar Janma, Krishna says in the 7th chapter, I believe it is, of the Bhagavad Gita, those who attain me get free from the modes of material nature, get free from this material world, which is full of miseries, and it is also temporary. Mamapetu Purnarjamaneti, having attained the transcendental abode of Krishna, they never again return to this world of birth and death. Abhyakta Sariyatuta Tamahu Param Yat Gatnana Tadama Paramama. Everybody who goes to the heavenly planets comes back without exception throughout all of history. Everybody who goes up comes down. It's an unassailable, inalterable, fundamental law of material nature. You go up in matter, you come back down in the due course of time. Everybody who has ascended to the heavenly planets has eventually exhausted their pious credits, come back down on the earth planet. But nobody, we have no history, not a single one, anybody, Avyaktasara Itu, who went to that imperishable, unchangeable, timeless, there's no past, present, and future. In the spiritual world, there is only eternal time. There is only the ecstatic present. Nobody who ever went to the spiritual world, the kingdom of God, ever returned to this material world. Because why would they trade? You could do it once out of foolishness or inexperience or immaturity, and we did that. But we are not going to do it again. No, thank you. Been there, done that. Put my hand in the fire, got burned. It was extremely painful. Never going to do that again. Yes, once, twice, no. We did originally come here, but having gone back home, back to Godhead, no one ever came back a second time to see what they missed. Because all they missed, all they're missing in the spiritual world hunger, thirst, honor, dishonor, hot, cold, happiness and distress, birth, death, disease, and old age. Prabhupada says there is no possibility of coming down having attained the spiritual world. Why? Because there's a life of eternal bliss, knowledge, and freedom from miseries. Mangalananda, in an early album, it was called, what was it called? Change? What was that early album? Maybe someone can put it in the purport here. Change of Heart. Yeah, the Change of Heart. It's a very prescient album. Came out in the 70s. Timeless songs, timeless lyrics. To me, Mangalananda is a genius. But he said, he sang a song about the spiritual world, the world beyond the sky. And in the initial opening lyrics, he says that even if you don't believe in God, even if you don't believe in the kingdom of God, even if you don't believe in the spiritual world, everybody, without exception, at least theoretically, would say, if there is such a world beyond the sky where there is no birth, death, disease, and old age, where time is not divided into its various phases of past, present, and future, where every inhabitant has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body, then everybody, at least theoretically, would say, yeah, if there's such a world, I want to go there. You may not believe there is such a world, but from a hypothetical, theoretical point of view, everybody, without exception, who's sane, would say, yeah, I'm in. If there is such a world, I'm in. Krishna confirms that. If you believe Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you got to be happy. You got to be happy. Because he tells you, he certifies the existence of such a world in many places in the Bhagavad Gita. But here's one example, 20th verse, 8th chapter, Prakash in the Bhagavad Gita. Parashtasmatu bhavomnya. Parashtasmatu. Besides, as an alternative to this world of birth, death, disease, vyakta vyakta et sanatana. As an alternative to this temporary, changing, ever mutable, disappointing, loss-filled, suffering material world made of the Lord's inferior energy, vyakta vyakta sanatana, there is an alternative world which is ever existing, unchanging, immutable, eternal, and blissful. Yasa sarvashu bhutashu nasyatsu navanashati. And when all in this world is annihilated, and we see annihilation happening all the time, there's constant annihilation occurring. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti amyayaryam. My great-grandfathers died, my grandfathers died, my great-grandmothers died, my fathers died, my mother has died. Everybody, every moment, millions of uncountable living beings. Snap your finger. Millions of living beings just died on all levels and all species of life. So that when there's partial annihilations, there's personal loss, there's personal destruction, and then there's universal destruction, which happens in due course of time. But aside from this world, which is a world of loss and disappointment, there is another world where there's never any loss. When this world is annihilated, either partially or completely, that part remains as it is. And that world is described as unmanifest and infallible, the supreme destination. After having attained it, one never returns to this material world. That is my supreme abode. Tomorrow we'll talk about practitioners of Bhakti Yoga, great souls like Archie and Pritu. Dhruva Maharaj will tell the actual stories of souls who invested the valuable days, moments, minutes, months, and years of this human form of life wisely. According to the instructions of the Lord, they contacted the Super Soul, took advantage of his presence and direction, and got the highest possible profit from the investiture of this human form of life, made their life successful, and went back to home, back to Godhead. That subject matter we'll leave for tomorrow, We have some nice comments here. Jai Shri Radhe says, the Bible says God created the heavens and earth. One question that's often not asked, if the heavens and earth are created, how is the eternal kingdom of God created? It is never created. It is eternal. They do not understand. They're material created, temper. Yeah, there's a difference. When we say heaven, we're not talking about the spiritual world. We're talking about a better place than this material one. Heaven for us is not the kingdom of God. For us, the kingdom of God is the kingdom of God, and heaven is heaven, and heaven is not good enough. Krishna doesn't want heaven for you. He wants the spiritual world for you. That's why he accompanies you in the region of the heart. Jai Shri Radhe also says she loves those songs all the way back from the 70s. Yes. She says, the pure devotees consider the allurements, the enjoyments of the heavenly planet as no more than will-o'-the-wisp, phantasmagoria. We are trained, Jaya Shri Radhe continues, in this world to become puffed up. We teach women to be independent instead of dependent on a husband, to practice arrogance instead of humility. Yes, we're trained, women are trained to wear the pants, cut the hair, flaunt it. No, all right, well, I didn't say that. That's coming from a woman. So you have to take that like that. All right, thanks for jumping on the call, Sanjay. Jai Shri Radhe is always great. Lots and lots of comments. She's very outspoken. We like that. Bhakti Gary, Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances. Britta, Hare Krishna. Britta read the entire Bhagavad Gita to her son and husband yesterday, non-stop. It took her about 3.5 hours. She started reading, and she said, let me know, guys, whenever you want me to stop. So they didn't say anything for 3.5 hours. They wanted to hear the whole Bhagavad Gita. That is a Krishna conscious, potentially Krishna conscious family. Good for you. Next time, read Bhagavad Gita as it is. You only have to read the slokas. I know the purports would make those 3.5 hours end up being like 8 hours. But just read the verses. It won't take any longer than reading any other translation of the Bhagavad Gita. But good job, Britta. Hare Krishna. Rakesh, Hari Bo, Rakesh ji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Bye, Bobby. Bobby's tired. She went up to Salt Lake with all the volunteers yesterday. It was a lot of work to do. We put a deposit down on the landscaping with the city when the temple opened 2019. And then when you meet certain conditions after so many years, they inspect and you get your deposit back. So she took the devotees up to do a lot of weeding, guarding, getting everything up to the highest standard so that we can now call in the inspection and get our deposit back. The city's had our deposit now for what, 4 years? I doubt they're going to give us any interest on the deposit. What was worth $2,000 4 years ago is probably worth about $1,600 now. But anyway, it's ours. It belongs to the temple, so we're going to get it. Sundari Priya, please accept my obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ram Kishore, doing his mightiest there in Minneapolis Rat Yatra. For those who are working people, text or message Ram Kishore about how you can spread Krishna consciousness in your workplace. He's got some very, very effective tricks up his sleeve there. George, Govinda Dev, Harivo, Pranams. Natasha. Okay, that's it. I don't know how. Let's see if there's any way I can. Anyway, I'm sorry for not having responded yesterday. Going to go in the kitchen, but we don't expect it to be so busy today as it was yesterday because yesterday is a holiday. So I'll look forward to reviewing your comments. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the likes button. I can't believe how many people I meet during the week and at other times who say, I always listen to your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday talks. I don't listen to them live, but I listen to them afterwards. But you can still hit a like or you can still make a comment. It doesn't have to be live. If you're coming upon this later on from YouTube or on our Facebook page, you can still hit a like or comment. I would like to know that you're there. I don't want it to come as a surprise to me that you listen to every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday classes. Let me know you're there. I would like to picture you and imagine you as my associate, my friend, my colleague out there listening. And it doesn't have to be live. It can be at any time. But pitch in, contribute, partner with us, create a lot of back and forth, reciprocity, interactivity. I don't know how that works or how that helps, but I'm told by people who work the social media game better than I do that the more comments, the more likes you have, the more high you go in terms of Facebook's algorithms. So I don't know how it works. I'm the last person to understand that, but I'll put my faith in those who know more and invite you to be a partner, invite you to spread the word according to the facilities that are available to you. That about winds it up for Transcendental Tuesday. We'll all go about our various duties, thinking of Krishna, thinking of devotional service, and thinking of how we can spend our human form of life in the most profitable way, not only to benefit ourselves, but our family members, our classmates, our fellow workers, our country, our generation, our species, all living entities. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,